don't be afraid, especially if you're young or if you're old, to run and to be involved. We need people that have the right perspective involved. I say there's usually three different types of people that will run for local politics. You have people that are doing it because they want a title and power and influence. You have people that are focused on very specific issues that they want to see fixed. And then you have people that just want to make a difference and want to make a positive difference in their community. And we have a lot of people that are in that third category. And that's where there's an opportunity for those of you that are listening to be involved and to be engaged and to do the right thing for all of the community and be a voice of reason in times that it seems so divisive and so split and contentious. We have an opportunity to be a voice of reason and speak peace and calm to the storm around us.
You're saying that comfort is so accessible here in the United States, and that comfort leads to an apathetic spirit.
Discipleship really is just making a choice to be a Christ follower and submitting your life every day to the call of God on your life.
Our mission is to disciple young leaders just like you, helping you become everything God has called you to be. We're here to have authentic conversations about the real topics that our generation wrestles with, whether it's how to share the gospel, what it means to be a true disciple, or how to navigate faith in today's world. Our goal is to equip you with the tools, knowledge, and wisdom you need to lead in your generation. Join us every other week as we learn to be next-gen leaders together.
Welcome to the 1630 Show. I'm your host, Abby Ralph. We are a discipleship ministry developing next-gen leaders just like you to grow and thrive in the calling God has placed on your life. We want you to understand your identity in the Lord, walk with you as you discover God's calling, and send you out on mission as the leader God calls you to be. Together, we can pray, vote, and engage to leave a lasting impact on our nation. Today, we are joined by Mayor Dan Davis. Dan is the mayor of Manville, Texas, and one of the youngest mayors in America. After making history as Manville's youngest city council member, he was elected mayor in 2023 with 64% of the vote. He marks his leadership by transparency, innovation, and securing key wins like the city's first grocery store and homestead exemption. Before entering public office, Dan and his wife Erica served as missionaries in Japan, an experience that deeply shaped his values of humility, service, and community. Let's listen in on my conversation with Mayor Dan Davis. Well, Mayor Davis, I am so excited to have you on today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Abby. Excited to be on and love what you guys are doing with this 1630 project. Even though I'm over the age of 30 now, 30.
Barely, right?
Barely. I'm excited to be here today.
That's awesome. Good. We're doing a little mini series here, just interviewing young people who are in office at the local, state, and federal level and what that looks like. And so I'm just curious to start us off. You were the youngest city council member in the city of Manville in Texas, and then you ran for mayor in one. So you're one of the youngest serving mayors in America. But what first led you to want to run for public office at such a young age?
This is a question I get asked a lot, and I love answering it because for me, I was raised in a household, had two amazing parents, my mom and dad, and two brothers, and they always taught us that if not me, then who? And not only did they show us that tell us that with their words, they showed that to us with their actions, the way that they would give and serve and be involved in the community. So when my wife and I bought our first home in Manville back in 2017, that's really for me in my adult life where I started paying attention more to politics and what was happening. Grew up in a very apolitical family. But moving to Manville, I felt a desire in my heart placed in there by God to start attending our local city council meetings, because the reality is while big decisions are made in DC and for us in Austin at the state capitol, it's really the local decisions that when they make those decisions, the next day you feel the real life impact of it. Sometimes it's a good impact and sometimes it's not a good impact. And so attending the meeting, seeing what was happening, seeing the decisions that were being made when an opportunity opened up because a sitting council member decided not to run for re-election, I was asked to run, and my wife and I, we prayed about it, we talked about it, and it was an opportunity for us to live out that mindset, if not me, then who? My core belief is that regardless of how old you are, young you are, where you come from, what you've been through, God has created you for a purpose, and he's gifted you with skills. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's stepping out in faith because you feel like you're not the most qualified. And at the age of 26 is when I was elected to city council. I did not feel like I was the most qualified. But when God calls you, he gives you the tools, he gives you the resources, he gives you what you need to step in and to walk according to his plan. So it's been a beautiful experience. It's had its ups and downs, and it's been challenging. But for me, it's always that if not me, then who? And I want to use what God has given me to be able to bless others.
It's awesome. It reminds me of the verse that says, "Here I am, Lord, send me."
Exactly.
That's incredible. Well, you and your wife were missionaries before you ran for public office in Japan. So I'd love to hear more about that experience. And then just from that experience, how has that impacted the way that you lead today?
We could spend this entire conversation talking about Japan. It's a beautiful country. We love it. To take a step back further, my wife and I, we got married whenever I was 18 and she was 20. We, from the moment that we met to when we got married, was a span of 11 months, because when you know, and why wait? And so after getting married, we 5 days later moved to Christ for the Nations Institute in Dallas, where we went to Bible college, went to seminary together. And there, God really put in our hearts a passion for missions. And what I've learned in my life is some people are called, like we were, to be missionaries overseas, but being a missionary can happen in your own neighborhood, in your own backyard, in your grocery store. For us in Brazoria County, which is just south of Houston, we are now officially a minority majority county. That means that there are more minority groups that make up the majority of the population. So you have different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds, upbringings that you can be a witness to through your life, through your actions, through your words. For us, God called us for a period of time to go to Japan to be missionaries. We had our son with us, who my wife gave birth to right after graduating from college, and she was 4 months pregnant with our daughter at that time. I get asked whenever I share that a lot, is your daughter a dual citizenship? And I know dual citizenship, birthright citizenship, is a conversation happening in America right now. And for Japan, that is not the case. You have to be Japanese by blood in order to get citizenship there. Now, she does have a Japanese birth certificate, which is really cool. So we were there for 9 months. And what I've found is in America, at least for me, growing up, you're very much in a bubble. You're in the mindset of American exceptionalism, that you have such national pride, that you're saying the pledge, you're being in Texas. We're taught in 7th grade Texas history. And so your worldview is defined by what you know through the lens of being an American. And living overseas walked us into this place of our eyes being opened to, it's true. There's so many people out there that do not have what we had growing up, that have different perspectives, different religions, different cultures. And you hear those things, but to actually live it in such a beautiful country like Japan really opened our eyes to it. We saw in Japan that they're, such a culture of discipline, respect, perfection in a good way. And coming back to America and stepping into the role of politics, it's helped me embrace the fact that not everybody's going to agree with me. They're going to have different opinions and perspectives. And just because we might disagree about a polity decision doesn't mean that they're a bad person. Just because they think differently than me doesn't make them the enemy. That the bonds that tie us together as a people are still there. Too many times you see people retreat to their own corners and to their own belief systems, and they don't extend themselves across the aisle to those that might think or feel or believe things differently. And that was one big takeaway that we had from Japan coming back to America. America is less than 400 million people, and there's over 8 billion people in the world. And thinking about the reality of that has helped us be able to embrace the diversity that we see in Manville.
That's really good. Well, first of all, I understand that when you know, because me and my husband met and got engaged within about 2 months. So I understand when you know, and you should just go for it.
So my wife and I, we met, my dad ingrained in me, you have to remember the dates. So we met February 10th. We started dating March 20th, and then we got engaged June 5th.
Yep.
So it's very, very quick like
there you go. Yep. But that's really incredible that you all got to do that as a family and be over there. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's good to understand those different perspectives. And I think as believers too, like you need to be able to work with different people, whether you agree with them or not, but stand firm on your faith. So what are some other ways that you feel like your faith has really impacted your time since being in office?
So in office with my faith, it's been tough. It's been challenging because people have this concept, and it's a misconception of what separation of church and government actually means. A lot of people say that religion and government shouldn't mix, and that's not what the founding fathers intended. Thomas Jefferson was the first one here in America that coined the phrase separation of church and government, and it was to a Baptist association where he was saying, we as the government are never going to force a religion on you. But you look at the original state charters and state constitutions, you look at the founding fathers, the signers of the Declaration of Independence, the letters that they wrote, the Articles of Confederation, you look at the Federation, Federalist Papers, and you see the intermix of religion and faith into what started us as a country. And so for me, that's been such an important aspect because it keeps me grounded and rooted in truth. And so it's the core beliefs of the Sermon on the Mount and what Jesus tells us as the fruits of the Spirit. It's tough in politics because you're surrounded by issues and challenges and frustrations and difficulties. And so one of the things that I've been reflecting on a lot is gratitude and appreciation, because it's a discipline. And if you don't practice it, you lose it. It's the same thing if you're in the gym working out and a muscle that you gain. If you're not constantly working it, you're going to lose that strength that you've built up. And so viewing the world around me through the lens of each and every person is a child of God, and how in these situations can I best be a reflection of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, has helped me be able to walk in peace. There's Ephesians 6:10-20 talks about the armor of God, speaking that over myself as I head into the different battles and struggles that we might face. Faith has been that guiding light and that guiding principle that at times when I don't know what to do and I feel lost and confused, I spend time with God. I turn to the word and I ask for wisdom and seek clarity. And I can confidently say, enthusiastically say, each and every time God has provided those steps for me.
Yeah, that's incredible. Has there been a specific time that comes to mind where you were faced with maybe a difficult decision as your time, and either as a city council member or as mayor, where you really had to depend on your faith to kind of get you through that situation? Be like, hey, Lord, I really need some guidance here.
I would say that's each and every day.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Because being young, married to two kids, here at the local level in Texas, you don't get paid a full-time salary, so you very much have to work a job as well. So there's been the ebbs and flows of life and seeking out clarity for that. And what I would answer to that question, Abby, is whenever I was first elected as mayor, I had served 3 years on city council, took a year out of politics, and then ran for mayor. And when I ran for mayor, I wasn't planning on doing it. We had a 6-year incumbent, amazing lady that was our mayor. She decided not to run for re-election, so it was an open seat. 2 other people filed for it, and I looked at both of those candidates, and while they're great people, I said, these aren't necessarily 2 people that I would vote for. And so, again, the mindset of if not me, then who? Our kids were old enough to really join us in prayer, and we all prayed about it, and God spoke to all of us to go ahead and do this. One of the big things whenever I got elected was we had to change the culture at City Hall. We needed to find a way to build trust with the public because we are the people's government. It's not that the people work for us, we work for the people. And the culture at the top within our city government was not at the place that it needed to be. And so coming in and getting elected, one of the big decisions we had to make at the top was entering into a separation agreement with our then city manager. Think of it like the CEO for your company, the mayor and council's like the board. And we needed to separate with our city manager. And there was a lot of criticism that we received from that, because people said all of the momentum and the progress you're making in Manville is going to stop. You can't lose this institutional knowledge. But I believe in what I call the 4 Ps. You have to have the right people in the right positions, following the right process to produce the right product. And we didn't have the right people in the right positions. And so we had to make that decision to separate with the city manager. We hired a gentleman now who's our city manager, a phenomenal guy. He loves God. He's really built the culture of what we've wanted to see in Manville. And the successes that we've seen over these past 2.5 years have to do with that decision. That was tough. It was scary. I just got elected as mayor. This is a big change that you're making at the top, but you have to make those bold decisions to see bold results.
That's so good. Well, I really appreciate that you really are people-centered. You like to keep people above government, above politics, but I'm sure that's not always easy. And so how has that looked in the course of your career in terms of really keeping people first and caring about their interests before the politics?
Yeah, that's a tough one sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
So as a millennial, I'm 32 years old now. We use social media a lot, and it's a way to engage and connect with the people. One of my favorite all-time quotes is from President Abraham Lincoln. It's that government is to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. We can't forget that. We are created because the people have created us as a government and have elected us to office. When I talk about being elected, I like to say that I'm not elected to serve the city of Manville. I'm elected to serve the people of Manville. The city is nothing without the people that live within it. And being very intentional about pursuing opportunities to talk with people is key. And at times that's tough because you're going to receive criticism and you're going to hear feedback that might not make you feel real good, but it's important to hear that. So I've been very strategic about engaging through social media. We do once a month a Facebook Live town hall, and we also do an in-person open door meeting that is an opportunity where people can come and meet with me at a local restaurant and talk to me about things. As a city, we've started to live stream all of our city council meetings and our workshops. We do budget town halls, focus groups. We've formed more committees. We've sent out surveys. We've done polls. And we've been very intentional about that because we want to hear the feedback. And it's not just enough to hear the feedback. You have to take action on that feedback, because if you don't, trust breaks down. At a personal level, what's been so important is surrounding myself with people that have the right mindset and are also willing to hold me accountable. In politics, you can very easily be surrounded with a lot of people that they would say that are just yes men, that just tell you what you want to hear. I believe that you need to have mentors that will hold you accountable and speak life into you, people that are at the same place of life as you that you can run with and do things with, but they'll also hold you accountable. And then somebody that you're mentoring yourself and you're pouring into that next generation, helping them get to where you're at, and then even further, faster than how you've gotten there. So for me, my family, my friends, my mentors, my community, I can promise you that they have challenged me, that they have said, "Hey, Dan, you're messing up here. You need to fix this." And that's been important for me to not only hear that, but receive that and take action on it.
I love that. I think that's so important to have that discipleship aspect. We talk about that a lot with 1630 and with Christians Engaged. It's just vitally important that we have people pouring into us as we pour into others. We're not going to do a good job of pouring into other people if we're not, being pointed in the right direction. Have that community to say, hey, this is where you're going. This is what you need to be doing. This is what the Lord's called you to do, both in church and then just our family and friends. So I love that you're doing that. That's incredible. But so you've gotten to do some pretty cool things so far, just with physical reform there in Manville, and you brought in the first grocery store, which is a huge deal. What has kind of been your biggest accomplishment so far? What are you most proud of?
We've had a lot of cool things that we've been able to do. What I say is people first. It's people over party. It's people over policy. It's all about the people. So we've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in parks. What I like to say is we've got a Whataburger and an H-E-B now. So we're almost there to be an official Texas town. We just got to get a Buc-ee's. So if anybody's listening, if you know Buc-ee's, the owners, send them our way. We'd love to have them. I need some beaver nuggets in my life. So we've been able to do a lot of exciting things, bringing in businesses. We have over 50,000 square feet of commercial space that's being developed. We just recently opened our police station, our brand new police station. Our current police station is 1,000 square feet. Our new one is 42,000 square feet. We have a new water tower. We're doing monument signs. We're doing a new public works building, a city hall expansion. We have a lot of exciting things in the works. One of the things that I'm most proud of is that because of our fiscal responsibility and how we've structured our finances and our budget, last year we were able to adopt, for the first ever time, a 10% homestead exemption within the city of Manville. So the city has had exemptions for if you're over 65, if you're a disabled veteran, but for everyone else that's not in those categories, you had no homestead exemption. And by implementing a 10% homestead exemption and adopting the lowest tax rate that the city's seen since the 1990s, we were actually able to lower taxes for the taxpayers in Manville for the first time in over 30 years. And it was a big accomplishment because we have a lot of needs and a lot of priorities and things to work on. We also have to recognize the only reason we can do and should be doing the things that we do is for the people. And we need to make sure to take care of the people with inflation being up and a lot of challenges that we're seeing in the economy. If we can give back to the people some of their money while also making the necessary investments for a sustainable and successful future, that's what we need to do. So that's something I'm extremely proud of. There's a lot. I could give you a laundry list of items, but I'll probably take up the rest of our time doing that. So we'll go with that homestead exemption.
That's awesome. Well, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I would love for you to talk about just the importance of local government. Because I think we have a lot of people that when we say, hey, you should really get civically engaged, think, okay, I got to go to DC and do all these things there. But those local governments are really extremely important and honestly, sometimes just a better way to at least initially get involved. So can you just talk about how important that local government is?
Yeah, government at the local level and really at every level has an essential role to play in our society and our economy. But many times people look to government to be the end all be all, that they look to government to have all the answers, and that's not the way that it's supposed to be. Here at the local level, specifically in Texas, our local politics and city councils are what we call nonpartisan races. So you don't file as a Republican or as a Democrat, because at the end of the day, a pothole that needs to be filled, a sidewalk that needs to be fixed, drainage that needs to be improved. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. And what I've found at the local level, really talking to people, is there's much more that the different political parties agree on, especially at the local level, than at the federal level. People want a safe community. They want parks and activities. They want to keep more of their money in taxes, and they want investments in critical infrastructure. And so those are the decisions that you get to make and you get to influence at the local level. You're over things such as fire and police. You're setting the tax rate and the budget. You're improving transportation. You're setting up local businesses for success. And I've seen firsthand how cities do it the right way, prosper, and there's cities that do it the wrong way, and they face a lot of challenges. God appoints, the Bible teaches us that God appoints the leaders. And when you look at King David, he was referred to as the lamp of Israel. And because of his faithfulness and his heart after God, Israel was blessed because of it. And that same thing goes for us as leaders, as Christian leaders. When we step into these places that might not be comfortable and might not be the easiest places, we bring the light of Christ with us, and we're able to make a difference, and we're able to influence the community that's around us. And there's a lot of ways to get involved at the local level. One, you can volunteer for different boards and commissions and committees that help shape and influence the policy of the city. Don't be afraid, especially if you're young or if you're old, to run and to be involved. We need people that have the right perspective involved. I say there's usually three different types of people that will run for local politics. You have people that are doing it because they want a title and power and influence. You have people that are focused on very specific issues that they want to see fixed. And then you have people that just want to make a difference and want to make a positive difference in their community. And we have a lot of people that are in that third category. And that's where there's an opportunity for those of you that are listening to be involved and to be engaged and to do the right thing for all of the community and be a voice of reason in times that it seems so divisive and so split and contentious. We have an opportunity to be a voice of reason and speak peace and calm to the storm around us.
That's so good. Yeah, some people don't think that the Bible talks about local government, but it does. Because when Moses, this is the first example I can think of anyway, when the Israelites are freed from the Egyptians, for a while, Moses has to deal with all the grievances of the people by himself, and he's overwhelmed. So his father-in-law comes to him and says, hey, why don't you find, noble men in the different tribes and let it start there. Let them go to their people first, and then, the bigger things come to you. It's a great example that the Lord really uses.
The Bible is very much a political or politically oriented book, and you see very much the intertwined nature of politics and government and influence. And when you look at how Jesus was so countercultural to his times with the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the way that he would answer questions with the occupation of Rome, it really showed you that as Christians, when we seek a heart after God and we take that time to really pursue that relationship with him, Psalm says that as we draw near to God, he draws near to us. We can walk in that life of Jesus. When there's turmoil all around us, we can be that centering force and bring what is needed more than ever here to America.
Amen. That's so good. Well, we want to encourage young people to be running for office. Now, of course, not everybody's called to run for office, and that is totally okay. We have young people involved in our program that are worship leaders and teachers, real estate agents, like all kinds of different things, and that's incredible. But we do want to encourage young Christian leaders, if they feel called by the Lord, to actually get involved and run for office. So what advice would you give to a Christian young person who is interested in running for public office?
Specifically focused on running for public office, it's one, first and foremost, is to pray and see if that's what God wants you to do. Because there's going to be times, and I can think back to when I first got involved, and still even now, you have sleepless nights and there's challenges and there's difficulties. Just like with anything in life, you have your highs and you have your lows. Whenever I've been in those lows, I can think back to that time with God where God told me yes. And because God told me yes, he has this story written for me, and it's my job just to turn the pages. So first and foremost, you have to get that yes from God. You have to remove that selfish ambition that you might have, and you have to hear God and what he's telling you to do. The second thing that I would say is, if you're considering running for political office, is to make sure, especially if you're on the younger side, you're going to be viewed at as you don't know what you're doing. You have inexperience. You're not prepared enough. You're not have been in life, or you not run your own business. I've faced that myself. And what I had to do is, because I wasn't the smartest, or like when I played football in high school, I wasn't the most athletic, I wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest. But what I did is I was the most prepared. I would come in early. I would stay late. When people would go and they would study for 1 hour, I would study for 2 hours. And as a young person going into politics, you're going to be challenged. Your beliefs are going to be challenged. So figure out what your core beliefs are. Spend time in the Word, spend time studying, spend time researching the variety of different opinions and beliefs that are out there. So that way, when conversations come up, you can show that you're prepared. Especially as a Christian, there's going to be people that are going to look to cause you to stumble, and they're going to look to bring you down. In Manville, whenever I was elected as mayor, the previous mayor, one of the things that had happened is they stopped doing prayers at the beginning of city council meetings. And so one of the first things that I did as mayor is we brought back prayer, where we bring in a local pastor before every city council meeting to lead us in a prayer. I've been very bold in my faith. We have spent time in prayer as a city. And because of that, there's very much people that want to see Manville stumble because of that. Because where there's the Spirit of God, also the principalities and powers of the air will come against that, as it talks about in the Bible too. And so going in prepared, going in prayed up, going in understanding what you need to research, and being equipped to answer the questions or state what your belief is so important. So those are the two things. One, I would say pray, and two, I would say make sure that you're prepared and you put that work in.
That's so good. Well, just as a young Christian leader in government, what kind of hope do you feel for our future, for this younger generation that is rising up? I think we're just seeing a lot of revival and reformation. We see young Christian men turning back to their faith, more so than in previous generations, which is really encouraging. But what hope do you see for our generation, both in terms of faith and in terms of leadership, and how do you hope that they will affect our cities and our communities?
Such a good question, Abby. I've seen that my generation, your generation, the upcoming generation is very much challenging the status quo. They're not just accepting what they've been told, but they're looking for something more. They're seeking out authenticity. They're seeking out truth. They're going on these journeys of exploration. And I've seen time and time again where, as they start that journey, that's what's so beautiful, is that journey leads them to Christ. And I have hope, and I have faith and belief and optimism for America, because a generation's coming up that's not just looking at things and saying, oh, that's the way it's always been done, so we have to keep doing it, but is willing to try something new. That, especially for Christians, we have a generation that's boldly living out their faith. Here within Brazoria County, in our area, we primarily have two school districts. We have Pearland ISD and Alvin ISD. And we're seeing these different groups like Campus Life and Youth for Christ that are starting up on our high school and junior high campuses. And there is one local high school that is started up with 2 weeks left in the school year. In a matter of 2 weeks, they already had 136 students that were attending the club. And that's just momentum has continued into the school year that just started this week. That gives me faith. That gives me hope that we have a generation that is willing to be bold, that's not going to accept no for an answer, that's going to be willing to try things differently, and that isn't just going to accept the status quo. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited to be a part of that. I'm excited to see where that leads us to as a nation. We have a lot of challenges in front of us, but just because it's a challenge doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity. And we have so many incredible opportunities to make a difference and to help shape the future of our nation.
So good. Yeah, I also just have a lot of hope and faith for this generation. I think we see cool things happening now, and we'll just continue to see more. So I'm excited to see what happens. But, well, any last thoughts for our young adults listening?
I'm excited. I'm excited for what you're going to do. The Bible says that you were made for this time, that God knew you before the world began, that you were knit and put together in your mother's womb, that he knows all the hairs on your head. He's already written this story for you. And so God has you here for a purpose, for a reason. He has you in this season. And so walk boldly in your faith, seek uh, God's heart for everything that you do. Don't be afraid of the unknown. When God calls you to do something, he equips you to do something. My life has been a living testament of that. And people ask me a lot, Dan, what are you going to do next for politics? Are you going to run for higher office? Are you going to run for re-election? What's next for you? And recently I had a conversation with someone and I said, when my term's up, I'll pray and I'll see. And it's whatever God wants me to do. And they're like, oh, that's such a political answer. You're not answering my question. And this individual was a Christian himself. And I said, well, you're a Christian, right? He's like, yeah. I said, that should be the only answer. The only answer should be whatever God wants me to do, I'll do it. And I would say to the young people listening that as you ask God that question, what do you want me to do? Here I am, send me, Abby, as you said at the beginning. God will direct your paths. And I'm here rooting for you down here in Manville, Texas. If y'all ever need anything, reach out and know that you have someone in your corner that's rooting for you, praying for you. And together, we're going to see amazing things happen in this land.
Amen. Well, Mayor Davis, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate just hearing your knowledge and your wisdom, and I really appreciate your faith and your leadership in the state of Texas and in the city of Manville. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, Abby, and appreciate all that you do as well.
Thank you so much for joining us today as we discuss with Mayor Dan Davis the importance of Christian young adults running for local office. And thank you for letting us be a part of your life as you become all that God has called you to be. Be sure to like, subscribe, download our episodes, share them with a friend. You can follow us on social media at CE_1630 to see what we're up to. And check out our website, ce1630.org, to learn more about our programs, including our Washington, D.C. trip, free classes, and more. 1630 is an initiative of Christians Engaged, a ministry of Family Policy Alliance Foundation. Please consider supporting the ministry at ce1630.org or christiansengaged.org. Your support empowers this work. We'll see you next time.